Hey everyone, and welcome. We are doing a little hangout here with the Knowledge Bolide crew, and they're strong today. My screen is full of faces. We are going to have a little bit of trivia, and it's one of our little trivia games. It's going to be about Martian meteorites. So the last couple we had have been about things related to meteorites, but really not meteorite questions. This is going to be how well do you know Martian meteorites? So yeah, look forward to that. And then we're going to have some learning after that. And I think different people are going to take different subjects, so it should be pretty interactive. I gave everyone a small little assignment just to kind of grease the conversation wheels last week. And I asked everyone just to pick a meteorite. It doesn't have to be a super obscure thing that no one knows about, but pick a meteorite that has a fact or a bit of a story that's interesting to you and share it with the crew. So I am really happy to say that Chris Monk of Rocks on the Ground went ahead and he was the first one to send the video in, not thinking he'd be here today. So covered his bases. Let's go right to Chris's video about a meteorite called what?
Hello, everyone. So, for my interesting meteorite story, I want to do a fairly recent one. It was October 3rd, 2021. There were multiple witnesses of a bright fireball that was witnessed in the northeastern United States and the southern part of British Columbia, western Alberta, around 11:30 at night. The town of Golden reported hearing loud booms after the fireball. A fist-size 1,270-gram individual punched through the southwestern corner of Miss Ruth Hamilton's house in downtown Golden, landing on the pillow next to her head. So, I mean, you think about that, we're talking about, a good size rock coming with enough force that went through the roof and landed just a foot or two away from her head while she slept. Later, there were a couple of other stones, or at least one other individual that was found a couple kilometers away. But could you just imagine sitting in bed or sleeping and then hearing this crash and waking up with debris on your face and looking over and seeing a meteorite laying right next to you? It's just a really crazy story, and I mean, thankfully she didn't get hurt, but there's only been a few instances in history of a meteorite hitting somebody, and right in the head would not be a good way to go. So that's my interesting meteorite story.
That was my favorite line of the whole thing. Right in the head would not be a good way to go. The he said the name of the meteorite in there. Did anyone catch it?
Oh,
Come on, Golden. Golden. There you have it. Golden. Yeah. So that's Golden. Yeah, and that would be like I enjoyed the way that you shared the story where you put us in there, and could you only imagine? I did a little bit of research because there's a lot of meteorites that have stories attached to them. Like if I say, what's the meteorite that famously killed a cow?
guacamole.
Valera.
Yep, Valera and possibly Vaca Muerta, but Valera is the more popular one. Yep. Then there's a bunch of ones that hit cars, houses. We'd like to say that there's only been one recorded instance of someone being hit with a meteorite, almost two for Golden. But I was doing some research getting ready for today, hopefully to find an interesting story. And I came across a paper that I wasn't able to finish reading from Harvard. And it lists a historic chronological list of important witnessed meteorites and their impacts. And I mean that figuratively and literally. So I want to share a little document with you guys and just roll through this and I would love to know how we say, Mrs. Hodges with the Silicaga meteorite is the only human ever hit and no one's been ever killed. Well, check this out. All right, so here is a document that I found on Harvard's webpage, and it has a lot of information going back to the 1800. And some of these are very familiar because we're all very familiar with Legay, Weston. So there's a bunch on here that we know about, but then there's other ones that we're not, like New Concord, but there's other ones that we're not familiar with. It's like, I don't even know how to pronounce that.
Yeah.
It's a 37-pound iron meteorite that smashed into a room, covering 3 children with ceiling debris, not hurting them. So another golden opportunity for a hammer event. So sorry, I couldn't resist. Here's New Concord. It struck a horse. Latvia penetrated a roof. This one is super cool because we find there's a lot of Poltisk iron meteorites available from Poland, and that's because they said there's about 100,000 fragments that hit the ground. So this is a really, really cool document. I'm going to share it with the Knowledge Bolide crew. But on here, it talks about the fragments that struck 2 men, damaged crops. One of the men was killed, the other was paralyzed. So this happened in 1888, supposedly. I wonder why it's not commonly talked about. Are these just stories of the town that are never documented and confirmed? Does anyone have any information?
Let's that one up in the catalog of meteorites.
There are several that were thought to be later apocryphal, like the dog in Egypt and the horse in Ohio, and several that the men killed or hurt have never been proven with documentation that I'm aware of.
There's tons there's tons of different stories in here that I just find interesting. A young girl suffered 2 head injuries when struck by a stony meteorite in Japan. While riding in a carriage in a wedding party, a man was killed. Like, I want to know, are these legit or not? So I didn't have a chance to really dig in, and there's so many of them. So I have my list of interesting meteorites for the next 2 years to share with you guys.
I guess.
Yeah.
I am looking for everyone else to find some resource that every week they can share 2 minutes of information like Chris did. It wasn't that involved. It wasn't that easy. If Monk can do it, anyone can do it.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Does anybody know anything about the meteorite Casa Grande? Is it the oldest meteorite fall in North America?
No.
No. Okay.
No, the oldest one is witnesses Weston.
Because I just briefly scanned some article about it, and I thought it would be something of interest. But
tell you what, next week, 2 minutes from Art on Casa Grande meteorite.
I'm committed now.
You can't interrupt, bring up a subject, and not volunteer to talk about it next week. So we have our first volunteer for next week.
Into that trap.
Yep.
So Topher, you mentioned Weston, and I actually have a little story about Weston, and I'll tell you the book this came from in just a second. Quote, one of the Weston meteorites, as large as 14 pounds, fell into a man's yard just at daybreak. The family were all in the house, and yet the hole it made, when found a few hours later, aroused no curiosity further than to raise the question of why a post hole should have been dug in such an inopportune location.
Jesus.
So how much would 14 pounds of Weston be worth today?
Oh my God. Yeah.
That would be nice.
Freaking retirement.
Yeah. This is straight from Our Stone-Pelted Planet by Nininger, 1933.
Awesome.
The first book in English that was written for educated lay people about meteorites. And unlike many collectible books, this one, it's actually really quite rare to find one that's not signed by the man himself.
Wow. That's phenomenal.
I was lusting after a copy of this for many years. Finally decided to jump in the deep end. I think I paid $250 for the book. And there was not even a mention of the fact that it was signed.
Jeez.
Wow.
Now you can take your next 2-minute meteorite stories for the next year out of that book.
Yes.
Pat has called dibs to that book. Let's see if Ralph can get his screen to share with us, because Ralph volunteered earlier for a 2-minute meteorite story.
So my show and tell for today is this product of this crater here. Does anybody recognize this crater?
Well, only because it's called that on the screen. I'm thinking it's the crater from Gebel Kamil.
Oh, okay. It says it right there, probably.
Yep.
So 2008, a guy was looking at Google Earth searching for craters, and he found this. And it was an Italian, I believe, and he 2 years later went on a special mission with the local Egyptian authorities to explore this crater because he felt it was obviously meteoritic. 5,000 years ago, approximately, an iron meteorite, an ataxite, came screaming in at cosmic velocities, estimated 18 kilometers a second, and impacted the Earth. It didn't explode above, but it actually impacted and made this crater, which is said to be the only rayed crater in the solar system in a in an atmospheric location, because all the other ones that hit like that and left a ray were non-atmospheric. So it's kind of a unique thing. And the dating of it isn't exactly clear to me, but if you look in the 9 to 12 o'clock, you'll see a diagonal line that appears to be an old pathway. And indeed, about 100 meters northwest of the crater was this prehistoric pathway that appeared to have been abandoned because the debris from the ray crosses the pathway undisturbed. And they felt that the intense dehydration, hyper arid conditions occurred probably just before that. So this was probably not a witnessed fall. As you can see from the map, it's in the southwest corner of Egypt and the eastern Sudan, Sahara, I should say. The crater itself is 150 meters wide and about 60 deep, with about 30 of that filled in. Walls are about 3 meters high around it. And as you can see, the rays extend all the way out. Most of the ejecta blanket, they say, is within the first 50 meters, but beyond that, it extends out as much as 350 for some of the longer rays. But you see like a prominent ray up to the north and one to the southwest, and sort of a splayed out one southeast and northeast. Most of the meteoritic debris went southeast. So you feel it came in from the northwest, and when it hit the Earth, it exploded, and the terrestrial debris showered out circumferentially, but the meteoritic debris continued on to the southeasterly fashion. As opposed to an aerial burst where it seems that the heavier meteorites land further, in a case like this of a terrestrial impact, the heavier ones were close in, within the first 50 meters, smaller pieces further out, as far as a mile, 1.6 kilometers. They picked up they picked up about 1,800 kilos of this stuff, and they estimate that there's probably twice that they just left behind because they couldn't carry it all out of there. And subsequently, more people came in. It is indeed an ungrouped iron ataxite, high nickel, 20% nickel just about. But I found it very interesting. Depending where you look, you can find it as low as 3.8% nickel. You know, if you're looking at some little strands, there are a lot of splinters and lamellae of kamacite, a lot of it around schreibersite, and all encased in tannite, a little layer of tannite. When they look at that tannite, it has up to 44% of nickel in it. So it's very interesting how inhomogeneous it is. In the background, duplex plessite that it has, they actually see a micro Widmanstatin patterns with kamacite and tannite spindles. One solitary individual, 83 kilos, was found, and it's completely regmaglyphed. It was about 150 meters north, I believe, and they felt that this broke off during a blade of flight and landed separately, didn't create a crater. It was just laying there on the desert, and you see the handy pencil. I think they said that thing was 30 inches long and about 12 by 10 in the cross section with these beautiful regmaglyphs.
Wow.
Other than this guy, there was all this debris, and if you kind of look, there's these circles. Yeah. They're right in a circular pattern. They think what happened is big chunks of this thing blew out, and then when it impacted, they estimated the impact velocity of the secondary impact was 600 feet per second, so about 350 miles an hour. And they think when it hit, it just shattered into these circular fragments. Now, this is one of my favorite meteorites, and it comes from a wonderful guy who's listening in right now. Told me this. I just love it because it kind of looks like a dolphin in a way, and it's got this little hole here that burned into it that I think Topher missed when he sold it to me for such a great
definitely
price.
missed.
And all of the shrapnel has this pitting, what do they call it? Lizard skin. And this is just the exposed part that's been sitting there for 5,000 years, just before the pyramids. And the buried part has very mild weathering from the terrestrial part, but this is one of the characteristics of the Gebel Kamil. I got a different one from someone else, and this is a bigger one. What is it? 1,400 grams, and it's just this bent piece of iron nickel that you can almost see how when it impacted it, it took a twist and a bend to it. And this it shows up in the microscopic analysis as well. You see all sorts of crazy circular bending and twisting and disruption of the normally oriented monocrystalline structure. I'm not sure what to do with this in a way. There's so much rusting on it, but it's been sitting there 5,000 years, and I'm not sure whether I want to even try to do anything to it, but leave it as is. Because every time I mess with something, I regret it, it seems.
Yeah.
In the spirit of the coming season, I've made a little display that's still a work in progress.
Nice.
So, the guys who built the pyramids 500 years later, obviously, well, I would think they might have known about this iron, but it didn't show up anywhere. Nobody's got a dagger. Nobody's got anything. And at the very bottom, I just made this. This is a piece of Libyan desert glass, which of course has nothing to do with this fall, although there supposedly is glass from this fall. I've never seen it on the market, but that's my little Halloween present to myself.
That's very cool.
Very cool, Dr. Ralph.
So that's
very, very, very
Gebel
cool.
Kamil.
I totally appreciate you you sharing, and actually that was a great presentation. So you did 3 times as what I expected or asked. So thank you very much, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Yep. I think we're going to have more of these little 2-minute meteorite stories coming up. We may be jumping right into the who knows the most about Martian meteorites. Introduce yourself, first name, last name, whatever you want. If you want to say, give your state, whatever. First guy, Digger, who are you?
Ken from Indiana.
There we go. Condrel Dave.
David from West Hollywood.
Sweet. Smiley.
You betcha.
He is muted, but he is saying that he's coming in from Canada with his little girl. Ms. Microscope.
Marissa from Ohio.
Sweet. General Gadamas.
Greg from Florida.
Sweet. Monkman.
Chris from Arizona.
Rockhound.
Art from Massachusetts.
So we're all over the country. Prairie Girl.
Allison from a beautiful Montana.
Nice. Little sales pitch there too. New York Meteor Guy.
Carl from upstate New York.
Nice. He doesn't like downstate New York. Patty.
Pat Brown, currently from California, but only physically in California.
Nice. Well, we hit our player limit of 10 people, so we're starting the game. Sue, please take us through this quest to know who knows the most about Martian meteorites. What is Martian snow made of?
Your choices are frozen water, sulfur, frozen nitrogen, frozen carbon dioxide, lead and bismuth sulfides, or Kool-Aid. 42 seconds.
So if there were to be snow on Mars, what would it be made of? All right. The correct answer was frozen carbon dioxide. 5 people got it right. We're going to dig into all the facts later on. All we care about is the score right now. Monkman, the most accurate, the most speedy, the most on top. Chondrule Dave, General Gadamus, Ms. Microscope, and New York Meteor Guy round out the top 5. And it's not a given you're going to be on the podium this time because there's 10 people playing in only 5 places. Sue?
All right. Question number 2.
Mars has a weak magnetic field, but it can still produce auroras, which are called what?
Aurora Deimos, Aurora Polaris, Martian winds, Martian aurora, merry dancers, or Aurora Borealis. 17 seconds.
I did not get this one correct. Oh, and nobody chose the correct answer, Aurora Borealis. Haha, we got him. Nice one, Sue. The scores don't change. The Monkman stays on top. Next question. What is the largest volcano on Mars?
Your choices are Arsia Mons, Alba Mons, Mount Everest, Olympus Mons, Acres Mons, and Polaris Mons.
And this is also my sales territory where I try to sell computers every day. We need one more person. All right, Olympus Mons, and the majority of people got it right. Let's see, oh, Monkman falls off. General Gadamus and Ms. Microscope on top of Dave, or Chondrule Dave, New York Meteor Guy, and Patty.
Next question. Correct.
Double points. There have been, think about this one. There have been 358 Martian meteorite classification approved in the Met Bowl. What percentage of those are from Antarctica? You have a minute. You can do the math. Think about it.
Your options are 8.4%, 18.6%, 28.9%, 38.1%, 48.3%, or 58.5%. You have 35 seconds.
This is going to be another gotcha one.
You like the little penguin? Come at me, bro. 17 seconds.
All right. The correct answer was only got by one person. Let's see who it was. Oh, Patty jumps to he got out his pole vault and vaulted over everyone. But if you look, everyone's in a close race for second. 1800, 1800, 1800. General Gadamus, Ms. Microscope, Chondrule Dave, and then New York Meteor Guy. True or false? Pumpkins the Cat Shanos has already replied to the letter he received from Baggins the Cat Spinato. This question is worth a total of 0 points. No, it is false. He has not written back.
Baggins is still waiting for her pen pal to write.
And of course, there's no points given, so no one changes. So Patty remains king of the hill for now. Slider, double points. There have been 358 Martian meteorites classifications approved in the Met Bowl. How many are from South America. Slide the
between
slider.
Yeah, 0 and 25.
And then hit submit, I think. You can be off by 2 and either way and still get points, I think.
We only have 12 seconds left, so get your answers in. 3, 2, 1. Ooh, someone got in just at the last second.
The answer is 3. Let's see if anyone got it. 0 people got it. The scores remain. Oh no, hold on. Someone got it.
Nope, because you gave them a
Oh,
2 to
Ms.
4.
Microscope jumped out of a running for second place to a dominating second place. The first ever recorded witnessed Martian fall occurred in what country?
Your choices are India, France, Oman, Nigeria, Monaco,
Nope,
or
Morocco.
Egypt. Oh, Morocco or Egypt.
We learned last week that Monaco has never had.
I typed Monaco onto my little cheat sheet.
So France was a correct answer, gotten by one person. Let's see who it was. Oh, Mrs. Microscope. Unbelievable. She took Patty and put him in his place, right underneath her. General Gadamus, Chondrol Dave, New York Meteor Guy on the board. How many Martian meteorites were classified as witness falls?
Your options are 3, 7, 5, 11, 4, or 8.
Let's see here. The correct answer was 5. One person got it right. Was it Ms. Microscope? No, it wasn't. It was New York Meteor Guy. All right, he good. Wow, he finally crossed 2,000. Congratulations. And that is the leaderboard still. No one from the bottom is making a run at the top. Come on, Prairie Girl. Several Mars missions have ended in failure, and their remains rest in a region informally known as what?
Your choices are Pathfinder's Eternal Rest, Martian Death Valley, Rover Graveyard, Vias Marineris, La Plage de Cuyes de Mouton, or Perseverance Cemetery.
The Rover Graveyard. We got one person got it right. 2 people chose this one. I can't wait. Ms. Microscope got some points. She's over 3,000. She's the only player at 3,000. There's 2 players in 2,000. That's Patty and New York Meteor Guy, General Gadamus, and Chondrol David. The same 5 names. Double points. The source of methane in Mars's atmosphere is what?
Your choices are thin ice caps, giant dust storms, Mars quakes, it's a mystery, ancient riverbeds, or thin atmosphere. 3, 2,
Wow. 6 people got it right. I had no idea. I'm shocked. Wow. Chondrol Dave moves up. Ms. Microscope and Patty are in an all-out battle, a bloody battle for first place with like 13 points separating them. Unbelievable.
And
Last question.
The next one's double points too, isn't it?
Double points?
Maybe.
Here we go. Multi-select. Double points. Which 2 missions were the most expensive of the following Martian missions?
Your choices are Maven, Mars Observer, Viking 1, Insight, Mariner 4, and Curiosity Rover. Choose 2 and then submit your answer. 45 seconds.
Jeff looks so freaking confident. I'm gonna look at the stats after the game and make sure you got this one right, because you're dancing like a I also want to see if Bruce got this one right. The correct answers were Curiosity and Viking. A lot of people got Curiosity and only 2 people. So did I just call out the 2? Jeff and Bruce? Nope, Jeff did not get it right. The final podium, Patty finishes in 3rd place, followed by Condrel Dave, who bested him for 2nd place. And again, returning to a place that's very familiar to her, Marissa, Mrs. Microscope in 1st place.
Good
New
job,
York
2 weeks in a
guy,
row.
New York Meteor Guy and General Gadamus end up the podium, 4th and 5th.
Congratulations, Ms. Microscope.
Wow.
Woohoo.
Well done. Well done. That was a good quiz.
That was a really good one, Sue.
Thank you.
I learned a lot. I got 0 questions correct and was just behind Art the entire game. Congratulations, Art.
Thank you.
Hey,
I'm
Topher,
persistent.
Topher played this game the other day, and let's just say he didn't get a lot right either.
Yeah,
So
I'm glad that all I have to do is bring the personality, not the science. That's what I got, Dave. Okay, I'm going to stop recording. I think we're going to move into a little bit of a break and then move into the learning session. So those of you that didn't get a lot of those right or thought they knew something, like I tell you right now, the one I got wrong that I was like, oh my God, I should have just stopped and thought about it, was how many witnessed Martian falls are there? Well, there's 3, right? Boom, submit. I want the most points. I'm like, wait a second. Those are the 3 type specimens. There's other ones that fell. So we're going to dig in all those facts and learn a little bit more. So next time you're asked these questions, you'll know the answers. Hey, before we jump into this learning session, I just want to know if you're eager to see what we have and to see the beautiful slide deck that Sue put together. This is your chance to switch over to Patreon as soon as this video is over and support what we're doing here. We have 20 people involved in this. But Sue and I basically do it all by ourselves with the support of our crew. So there's a lot of work in the background, and it really means a lot when you support us. So I can do this full time and just go to town on it. So thank you very much. Sue, tell us about the Mars game or trivia.
okay, well, Ms. Microscope won for the 2nd time in a row. So congratulations, Marissa.
Nice.
Now we're going to go back and review the questions, and we're going to learn a little bit. So let's go with question number 1. What is Martian snow made of? Your choices were frozen water, sulfur, frozen nitrogen, frozen carbon dioxide, lead and bismuth sulfides, or Kool-Aid. Hopefully nobody chose that one. The correct answer, frozen carbon dioxide. And I believe at least half the crew got that correct. So good job, you guys.
And I think we have some guest speakers who are going to jump in from time to time. Pat, did you want to mention something on this one?
This wasn't the one that he had 2 others, but he can jump in.
So I got this one wrong. I went for the bismuth thing, which sounded like more exotic and stuff. But their atmosphere is extremely thin, roughly 1% of our atmosphere, which makes flying that little helicopter so cool. But yeah, there is carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, and it gets cold in the shade, so makes total sense.
Awesome. All right, I'm sorry I put you on the spot. I'm going to let Sue continue to run this. Sue.
So let's review the other multiple choice options, because besides Kool-Aid, I didn't pick just random things. So obviously snow on Earth, snowflakes are made up of crystals of ice that have formed around bits of dirt in the air. There's a lot more to it, but we're just gonna, go over the basic answers. So sulfur, and I think it's called Io, one of the many, many moons orbiting Jupiter. They have snowflakes made of sulfur on that moon. All right, so Neptune's largest moon, as Triton, has geysers like Enceladus. These geysers are made up of nitrogen rather than water, and this nitrogen freezes, covering Triton with ice made of frozen nitrogen. So heavy metal snow Thought that was kind of cool. On Venus is made up of lead and bismuth sulfides. They obviously don't look like what's on the screen. Those are bismuth like crystals. But you saw earlier what the lead and bismuth sulfides look like. And the Kool-Aid.
Yeah. Sue went a
I
little
don't
random with her factoids, but here we go.
gonna throw a fun one in there once in a while. But yeah, so I actually did look up some facts on Kool-Aid. I'm not gonna spend a lot of time, but did you guys know that the voice actor that played the Kool-Aid Man for the first 15 years also did backup vocals for David Bowie, Billy Joel, Carly Simon, Shaka Khan, Madonna, and he even sang in skits and in the band on Saturday Night Live. And actually, and I don't know about down south because I've never lived there, but they say that usually in gas stations you can get Koolicles. They are Kool-Aid flavored pickles, and now they're coming out with Tropicals, which are going to be available for people who shop at Walmart. So, yummy.
That's nasty.
Yeah.
I do think you did a fantastic job on that question by citing snow and from other places around our solar system. That was pretty awesome.
Thank you, Topher.
You had to point it out to me at first, but I got it.
All right. Well, Mars has a weak magnetic field, but it can still produce auroras, which are called. We gave you a few different things. Aurora Deimos. I believe Deimos is one of the moons of Mars. Aurora Polaris, Martian winds, Martian aurora, Merry Dancers, Aurora Borealis. And when I read into it, they just called Aurora Borealis on Mars as well. So this picture of Aurora Borealis on the next slide is an artist's impression of what they believe it looks like. And this is thanks to the UAE HOPE orbiter that captured the ultraviolet glow from scattered auroras on Mars. Which I thought that was pretty cool. It's amazing how many countries now have programs, going out in space. I had no idea that the UAE had an orbiter going that far. All right, so what is the largest volcano on Mars? We're going to pass this one over to Ms. Microscope.
Hey, so yeah, Olympus Mons is the largest volcano, dead volcano, I should say, on Mars. It is a shield volcano, and it is 21.9 kilometers or 13.6 miles high. And a really cool fun fact about this structure is it's actually tied as the world's tallest mountain in the solar system with another mountain actually on asteroid Vesta, and that mountain is called it's called Vesuvia.
Vesuvia. I did not know that.
How high did you say it was? You said 13 miles?
Yeah.
13.6 miles.
That's crazy. This really puts it in perspective.
The lunar and Martian meteorites are actually a huge part of the justification of the cost of the ANSMET program, the Antarctic Search for Meteorites. And even though it's a very tiny percentage, one super, super important one is Ellen Hill's 84001.
Yes, is that the Martian OPX?
That is the one that they thought that they had found nanobacteria in, and significantly they found some variants of magnetite that are a biosignature here on Earth for very tiny single-celled critters.
Yes, I actually put a slide up about that next. And I believe it's still just the one of one. Is that correct?
I think it is, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So we felt a little sneaky when we put that up because we thought for sure, like even Topher was shocked that it was only 8.4 because they, classify every meteorite found. But yeah, that was the answer. I
Yeah.
think it was somewhere around 30 or something like that, or 33 or something.
So
Oh, we have the answer right there.
yeah, 8.4%.
35.
Yeah, 8.4% of all Martians are from Antarctica. And this is pretty interesting here. I just want to jump in on this because I commonly say there's 4 types of Mars: the Knocklite, Sugartite, and Chasignite. And then the 4th one would be Black Beauty, the Polymicbrechia. There's actually a 5th one. This one, the Orthoproxine Rich Martian. So whenever we say the 4 types of Mars, let's start remembering there's 5 types. Oh, Sue, cat question.
You can't make fun of me because you had me add Baggins into another slide.
Yes,
So
Yes.
Greg, are you feeling guilty?
Yeah, I guess Pumpkin
I was
has
just
to,
teasing you.
on.
Baggins has been waiting by the phone. All right. For the next one, of the 358 Martian meteorites, and I'm not sure if that is still the current number because I know we just had a Met-Ball update. So that was a current, I believe, as of last week. But how many were found in South America? And we had you guys choose between 0 and 25. And the correct answer, 3. So as you can see, I have them up on the screen. Gobernador Valadares, Calete El Cobre, 022, and Socorro. So we had 2 Knocklights and a Sugartite. And that is it for the entire continent. The first ever recorded witness Martian fall occurred in which country? This one was kind of a tricky one. Because, some people, obviously the choices were India, which maybe people thought it might be Nakhla, France, Chassigny, Oman, Nigeria,
Monaco,
Morocco, Egypt, which I believe is that's where Nakhla was, and Shargati was in India. But the first witness fall was in France. And more to come on France on the next question. All right. So I know Carl's going to take over here in a second. How many Martian meteorites were classified as witnessed falls? We gave you choices of 3. Isn't that cute? 4, 5, 7, 8.
and all the way.
Who doesn't get that reference? Turn it up to 11.
Yep.
All right. And the correct answer is 5. All right. Take it away, Carl.
Well, what's most interesting really here is that the first 3 classic ones, your Sugartites, Knocklights, and Chassignites, are all represented here. And also the Zagami, being the last one of the bunch, in the Met-Ball, had the highest weight of all of those mentioned in the Met-Ball at 18 kilograms. So you look at the rest of them, they're all 10 or under in kilogram weight. So I found that quite interesting, actually. And Ticint was quite interesting because that one became available pretty quickly right after it fell. But it was sold as a different name before it was actually classified. So that's what I have on the witnessed falls.
All right. So yes, the Martian Chassignites fell in 1815. So that was the first witnessed Martian fall, and that fell in Champagne-Ardenne, France. Then we have a Martian Knocklite. Knockla fell in 1911 in, I'm not sure how to say that, but Al-Buhayyara, Egypt. And then we had 3 Sugartites. The first one fell in India in 1865. That was Shargati. And then Zagami fell in 1962. And the most recent, as you guys were saying, it was in Morocco, and that was 2011. Carl, was it the other name?
It was sold as Tata, T-A-T-A.
Here you have it.
T-A-T-A.
Oh.
Okay. All right. I didn't know if it was related to that city name or anything, but
It was, yes.
Tatas.
Yeah.
All right. Next question. Hey, this isn't as bad as the Australian names from last week. All right. Several Mars missions have ended in failure, and their remains rest in a region known informally as. Choices were Pathfinder's Eternal Rest, Martian Death Valley, Rover Graveyard, Vias Marineris, Le Plage des Cues des Moutons, and Perseverance Cemetery. I'm not sure if I pronounced that one right, but the correct answer was Rover Graveyard.
Yeah. How boring, right? I prefer this one.
So yes, so that's why I asked earlier if there were any French speakers on the call, because Topher wanted me to sneak something funny in there. So does anyone have a guess as to what Le Plage des Cues des Moutons means?
Kind of like a field of sheep or something.
No, it's sheep balls.
Sheep balls. Ah. Excellent.
Prepared delicately with a nice butter sauce. And two of you guys chose it. I love it.
Who chose that? That's hilarious. All right. The source of methane gas in Mars' atmosphere. Thin ice caps, giant dust storms, Mars quakes, it's a mystery, ancient riverbeds, and thin atmosphere. And the correct answer, it's a mystery. And Topher thought this was going to fool everybody, but you guys did pretty good on that, pretty well on that one.
Yeah, and this one is so important because methane is a biomarker. It generally is considered to be something sign of life, which makes it that much more interesting. And it's something that we find by spectroscopy of looking at the atmosphere from some of the orbiters.
Thank you, Pat. So it wasn't just the fart in a jar. Okay. Which two missions were the most expensive of the following Martian missions? So I don't know if they were the most expensive of all time, but of these 6, your choices were Maven, Mars Observer, Viking 1. That looks so ancient, doesn't it? Insight. Topher and I used to work at a place called Insight. Mariner 4 and Curiosity Rover.
Badass.
So the correct answers were Curiosity Rover and Viking 1. I've got 2 facts to share, and then we're going to pass it over to Pat for his insights. Viking 1 in 1970 cost $1 billion, but in today's money, that would be almost $8 billion.
Ouch.
Yeah. And Curiosity Rover is actually inflated as well. So in 2012, that was 2.5 billion, but in today's money, that would be 3.4 billion. And Pat, you have anything to share with us about those missions?
Yeah. So this is yet another question that I got wrong. The very early missions were exceptionally expensive because we were really dependent just on NASA for rockets. And the cost of putting mass in orbit or way out there to Mars was considerably more expensive years ago than it is now. And so I think that's probably a big part of it. The Viking mission was one that was really very important to us, and it was one of those national pride things as well as a science mission. And the rover was the first one that we really packed with instruments. This thing has so many capabilities. The chem, where essentially you use a pulsed, very high power pulsed laser to blap the rock, and that causes an excitation that you can actually see in the visible spectrum. And some of it hangs out of the human visible spectrum a bit, but it's an up-and-coming technique. And the thing that's so cool about it is you can do it standoff. You don't need to have a vacuum. You don't need to be right up next to the rock like you do with XRF sort of techniques. And you can actually buy for a very terrestrial amount of money a microscope that does this. It would potentially be a thing that would be interesting for classification of meteorites. And Dr. Ralph studied it, and we had a number of conversations and did some research into it. And the main problem is that the spot size is not small enough. And also, it's kind of a messy thing. If you look at a sample that's been measured with that technique, it has a whole bunch of laser holes blasted into it, and it splatters stuff around and such. So it has its limitations, but it is spectacularly wonderful for this kind of application on a rover.
It kind of looks like Wally to me.
At ASU, on the campus of ASU, within the Earth Sciences building, they have, I don't want to call it a mock-up of that thing. It looks like the damn real thing, like heavy, big. Those wheels are massive. It's when you're standing underneath this thing, because they have on a Martian display, you feel like, wow, that is a hunk of equipment. It is like a Jeep or something like that. There is a massive amount of material, and like Pat said, densely packed instrumentation, and then the retrieval samples and everything. Yeah, cool stuff. Sue, who won that game?
Congratulations to Ms. Microscope.
Yes.
Yay.
She crushed it again. Yeah.
Hooray.
I originally signed the certificate, but Topher thought our manager of operations should be the one signing it. So
that's like 3 games in a row, isn't it?
Yeah.
two in a row. Two in a row.
Okay. That's
Good job, Marissa. The winner's circle. We got New York Meteor guy on there, General Gadamus, the honorary Professor Pat, Ms. Microscope, and Skydoc. So who's going to be next? We'll have to find out at the next trivia game.
Right. So thanks everyone for joining us. We really appreciate it. If you watched all the way to the end, good on you. Now's the time when you pause and go to Patreon. Thanks for your support, guys.